This is one of Australia's most iconic lizards.
An elusive monitor.
And they're fast. When he took off, I had no chance of keeping up with him. I think that has to be one of the sexiest monitors in Australia.
A snake in need?
This is a black-headed python. Now, he's got ticks, and I'm just going to take those off because I don't think they'd feel very nice.
One of Australia's largest pythons.
That is an olive python. This is Australia's heaviest snake. They can be a bit cranky and they pack a punch. I don't believe it. I think I've just seen something pretty special.
And a lizard that swims through sand.
Oh, ants all over me. But I got the lizard. That's a banded sand swimmer. I've seen a lot of things on the Dampier Peninsula, but I think this is hands down my best find.
Great start to my visit.
Off you go, mate.
Hearing the stories and learning the ways of our country's traditional owners has been a passion of mine for years. So I'm really excited to meet up with Brian Lee, a real character rich in the history of Coolgama, the name the Bardi people give to their country. He's taken me on a tour so I can get an idea of the life that Bardi led for thousands of years. To most people, this stretch of sand might not seem like much. But to archaeologists, it's a gold mine that opens up a portal into another time. It's in fact a midden, and they're found all along the Australian coastline. To the trained eye, they're an instant sign of human occupation. Essentially, they're leftovers from long ago, full of shells and discarded stone tools.
So if you turned around and looked up here, where that hill is,
Yep.
that's where Coolgama proper is.
Okay.
That whole hillside
Look at
is
it.
one giant midden.
You can see it. It's a couple of 100 metres.
There's a few thousand of years of people collecting their food down here,
Yep.
taking it back up there and eating it up there. This is where our people lived for thousands of years.
The midden is made up of millions of shells of all different sizes, and not one's complete.
As was this one here, this is a conch shell. We call them ngul. They cooked this as well and ate it. And then later on used it as a drill to drill into wood.
Yep.
To make their mangrove rafts.
Everything had a use, hey?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not long before Brian has another shell to show me, with a brilliantly simple use, if not brilliantly simple to master.
This one's a good whistle.
A whistle?
Yeah, yeah. Put it with your finger like that.
Hey. It's loud.
And take it to the footy.
Give me a go. In there like that?
Yeah.
Where is it?
So set it up.
Yep. There?
Yeah. Keep your fingers level.
You're stitching me up. That one doesn't work.
Put it up like that. Finger in there like that.
Yep.
And so you can grip it like that.
Righto.
Go.
Give me another go. Hey! That's good fun.
Walking along the midden, I'm noticing there's a few stones that don't seem to belong here.
What about this? The dark colour rock?
These rocks are black granite.
Yeah.
And black granite comes from about 500 kilometres away in the Napier Ranges.
Yeah.
So they were traded.
Yep, and carried in.
And these rocks would have been
Look at
one
that.
of these.
So that's an axe.
That's an axe head. So that smooth bit there, that would have been part of the blade.
And how is that sharpened? Because you've said that's one of the hardest rocks up here. It's the hardest rock anywhere.
To get this, old people from inland would have to break off chunks of these and take them to the river.
So quarry it?
Quarry it, and then on the river with the water and the river rock, they would sit there and grind the edges.
Does that take hours, days or weeks?
Oh, who knows?
Who knows?
It would have taken a lot of work, and with these axes, they made boomerangs, cut down spears, made dugout canoes.
Yeah.
You've held something that is prehistory.
Yeah.
World's earliest implements.
I can't can't imagine the time and patience that would have gone into making this axe head. Makes you realise how easy we've got it today.
The middens are here for a very, very, very special reason. These are here because of fresh water.
Yeah.
So when you've come up here, you don't see we don't have any rivers, streams coming down into the water.
Yep.
All the fresh water for our people came from below the high water mark. So they had to wait for the tide to go out, collect their foods, and also collect fresh water.
Below the surface of these sandstone rocks lies a freshwater spring.
It's very porous so that water leached through them. You can see holes, things where the water was coming out of it at one stage.
And what would be the giveaway that there's water?
Just bird tracks.
Yeah.
Have a look at here, you'll see there are bird tracks around. Years ago, wallabies used to come down to drink.
Yeah, so when you see land birds and wallabies and things like that coming down
onto the reef, you know that there's fresh water there.
Yep, and the animals can just smell it.
Yeah.
What's next?
We head on up the beach and see what we can do up that way.
Good.
A major part of Aboriginal culture is Dreamtime. To the Indigenous inhabitants of Australia, it's the beginning of knowledge and a belief that life as it is today, whether human, animal or plant, belongs to the land, which should be respected above all else. That's the Aboriginal understanding of the world. Some of the Dreamtime stories, well, they have a lot of resonance today.
Hey, Tim, I know you love your birds and that.
Yeah.
But up here, we have one little bird that is special.
What is he?
And what we're going to do is I'm going to sneak up to him, grab him, and bring him back to you. And then we rip the head off it and suck the juice out of its neck.
A real bird?
Proper bird.
Oh, well, I'm not sure about that, but we'll see.
Well, you want to you game to give it a go?
No, I'll give it a go.
All right, well, just hang on a minute.
Bring him back.
I'll see if I can find one for you. All right, go on, Timmy.
Give me a look. Ah, look at that. What is it?
It's a bird, bro.
I'll eat that one.
All right. So, all right.
There's his head.
That's his head.
And what do?
And his neck. Just suck all the juice out of his neck.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah?
It's like honey.
Beautiful nectar.
Beautiful.
Now, this little bird, Timmy, has a Dreamtime story.
Yeah.
Early every morning, before the sun rose, before the skies were still dark, it woke up and it used to fly out to the bush and drink all the nectar it could find. And then by the time the rest of its family woke up, there was nothing left for them. So one day, the old man in the tribe called the little bird in and said, hey, you got to stop doing this. You have to leave some for the rest of us, otherwise we perish, If you continue to do that, you're going to be punished, And so the little bird said, all right, I won't do it again. But next morning, bright and early, woke up, couldn't help himself, he thought, one more time, and found the sweetest nectar in this little bush. And then the last flower it went to fly out, but couldn't find it, stuck. So try as he might, he couldn't fly out of that flower. So he thought, well, I'll wait till the family wakes up and then they'll find me. Eventually the old man turned up and the little bird said, hey, can you get me out of here? And the old man said, no, I can't do it. We told you that if you kept on being greedy and wouldn't listen to us, you're going to get punished. So this is your punishment. Now you're stuck in that flower forever, and that's where he hangs today.
Do you find a lot of the Dreamtime stories all have strong messages in them?
I think they have a strong ethical message for people. You can't just go out and kill things because they're there. You can't be greedy and take too much or more than you need.
It's going to help the kids to
Some
understand.
Serious stories.
A serious story. I reckon a brown honeyeater would feed on this the most.
Brown honeyeater would feed that.
Yep.
And they, when they come in, they got
look at that
pollen.
Ah, look at that.
The pollen rubs out off them and then they go and pollinate each flower.
Yeah. And it begs the question, hey, who's cleverer, the bird or the flower?
The water from the plant would have quenched the thirst of a weary traveller until the tide retreated and they were able to collect fresh water from the rocks on the shoreline. It wouldn't have filled a hungry stomach though.
A couple of holes here.
Yep.
There's one here and the other one over there. You can see
Oh, yeah, I see him.
where the crabs sort of dug the sand out.
So all that sand there is him, he's excavated that?
Yeah, he's excavated all that and made a nice burrow in there.
Are they home?
As this one. Well, we'll find out, eh?
Brian is using a long steel rod, bent around at the end to hook out the crab. But of course, his ancestors would have used a spear with a hook on the end.
He's not home, eh?
No, he's not home.
Next one.
Breakfast was some time ago and the promise of some fresh seafood is making my mouth water. But it's becoming obvious. The more holes we look down, the less likely crab will make it onto the menu.
No one home?
No, Tim. Just looks like no crab today.
We're not going to go hungry, are we?
No, we're not going to go hungry. We'll find something to eat.
Righto, let's go. What's next?
We've got some oysters. We can cut off the trees over there.
Yep.
And perhaps we can catch a fish.
The oysters will have to wait though. Brian's seen something just as appetising.
See that plug up there?
Yep.
That's where he's most likely to be.
Well, so they're plugs, are they?
Yeah.
So that's where the grub's eating and throwing the stuff out?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a grub.
Hey.
That tree's full of life. We're only looking for grubs, but there's a big beetle and a crab.
There you go, Tim.
That's him, eh?
That's yours, bro.
What is he?
He's a witchetty grub.
Witchetty grub.
Yeah.
Eat him now or later?
Oh, you can eat him now.
What do you do?
I would take the head off it and eat the rest of him.
Yep. Is his head?
That's it.
And straight in?
Yeah, straight in. What's it taste like?
Oh, it's not real good. Oh, no, now it's all right. Bit woody.
You game, bro. I wouldn't have done that.
Ah, you would. You have this bit.
Yeah, no. It got eyes.
Yeah. That was good. What's next?
I suppose we go and grab some oysters, eh?
Done.
That wasn't bad at all, but it hasn't touched the sides. I'd need a few more of them before this hunger disappears.
Okay, Tim. What we're going to do is look for a branch with some nice big oysters in them.
Yep. Like that.
This one here might be all right.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you going to do, take the branch?
We'll take the branch, and so when we're cooking them, it's like a kebab.
Yeah.
Oyster kebab.
Righto. Well, that's him, eh?
Yeah, mate, we've got our oysters. Now we need a fish.
And then we cook up.
We'll go and grab a fish and then cook up.
The landscape is full of clues to times gone by. Some you have to scratch beneath the surface for, but others can be found where they were left.
Look at that. Is that what I think it is?
Yeah, it's a boomerang.
What's that one used for?
They would cover them with charcoal and oil.
Yep.
Some sort of oil, maybe from stingray or turtle. When they throw it into the schools of fish,
Yep.
when it hit, they would collect the fish, and then the black of the charcoal will stand it out against the white of the
Can I have a look at it?
beach sand.
How old do you reckon that is?
Well, I couldn't say off the top of my head. It looks very old.
Yep. But hard to say, eh? Because it's been
hard
buried,
to
sun,
say.
wind.
Hard to say. It's been here for a very, very long time.
Put him back?
Yeah, we just leave him there.
Brian's promised me we're going to have a great feed soon enough. But we've stopped at somewhere particularly special to him first.
This place is called Hunter's Creek, and it's named after my great-grandfather, old Harry. He came out from England in about 1860.
Yeah.
Him and his brother came out. His brother was a captain of the boat, and old Harry was his shipwright. When they got to Australia, they split up. His brother went up to the East Coast. Don't know his name. But old Harry came out west.
A relationship with a local Aboriginal girl gave Harry a son, and so began the family line that led to Brian.
I worked on the pearl farms Used to come back to the communities here and visit my grandfather's brothers. And from there, I stayed and, decided that I would stay in this country and look after it as they had done in years gone by.
Is this Cape Leveque home to you?
It is now. In the community where I live is home at Juddingham. And it's the home of my grandfather's mother and her brothers.
Yep.
And so I do feel at home here.
Feel at home here.
And throughout the whole of the peninsula, actually, yeah.
It's a beautiful place. It's very pristine. It hasn't suffered like some places with fox, cane toads, and the wildlife up here is abundant, and the creeks and tidal estuaries and the beaches, they're beautiful.
Yeah, I think the only biggest threat to our environment here in our country is feral cats. And they kill a lot of nesting seabirds.
Yeah, they weren't made to deal with cats.
No, definitely not.
No. I've seen some very encouraging things and met some very special people that are managing country in two ways, both managing it to remain like it is and managing it for people to experience and share. And, hopefully it is a time of change and moving forward is what happens in the right way.
Oh, we all have to move forward, yeah. There's no doubt about that. Okay, now we're going to head up here and see if we can find some seafood.
Yeah, good.
Traditional spears would have been made from long branches, hardened and straightened over a hot fire.
Every now and then a school comes past. You just see the silver side. I'm not having much luck yet. Here they are.
Today, if you're not using a rod and line, the next best way is a length of bamboo and metal spikes wound on the end. And Brian is a master.
Did you get him?
Stone dead, mate.
You got one?
Yeah.
Is that a trevally?
Yeah.
A golden, is he?
Yeah.
There you go. Well, he's not going anywhere now.
He did.
I thought you said you were a bit rusty.
Oh, but
Hey?
not too bad. Stone dead.
Mate, I haven't even come close. By the time I throw it, they've seen me.
Lucky shot.
Oh, you reckon?
Lucky shot.
I don't know about that. We gonna eat him?
Yeah, well, take him up there and cook him up now.
Righto.
All right.
Cooking out in the open like this doesn't need much. There's plenty of dried wood and kindling around. A simple grate and Bob's your uncle. In no time at all, you've got perfectly cooked trevally and oysters. Good enough for me.
Beautiful, look at that. It's hot. Not long ago he was on the spear.
Perfectly cooked.
Where's your fish? Doesn't get better than that. Everyday eating back in the day.
This would be our daily feed.
Good feed.
Do you want to try the eye?
Yeah. Is he tasty?
Very tasty.
Tastes better than it feels.
The best part of the fish.
And then it's time for a favourite of mine. I love oysters, but I've never eaten them off a branch before.
Good oyster, little, but sweet.
Yeah, very little. Very sweet.
It doesn't get any better than this. I've had a good day and this tops it off.
Beautiful fish, cooked perfectly.
Nothing goes to waste.
Nothing goes to waste.
And good company.
And good company.
Broome is a coastal town near the top of Western Australia. known for picturesque Cable Beach and its pearl farms, it's the perfect destination to experience both the beauty of the land and the creatures that call it home. Snakes, spiders and other dangerous animals are mostly found in the wild. However, every now and then they wander into urban areas and need to be carefully removed.
Dave's a part of the local Reptile rescue service and we're on our way out to a snake call. What's the story, Dave?
Well, the local pastor just called me and he claims he's got a large brown snake in his shed. So that could be anything from a Stimson's python or an orange nape snake, right up to actually a large king brown.
But on the west coast you get the same as the east coast. Sometimes you get a call out for a big brown snake and it's a blue-tongued lizard.
Yep, I've had a few of those.
Yeah. What's the biggest or the gnarliest snake you've had to catch?
Oh, I got one from out at the crocodile park a few years ago. He would have measured just over 7 foot and easily as fat as my wrist. He was a big snake.
King brown?
Yep, king brown. Yeah. We've actually had a pretty good run on actual king browns. Quite a few king browns been caught lately.
And he saw a big snake, so
big snake.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
King browns, or mulga snakes, aren't the most deadly species in Australia. But due to the large amount of venom they can inject in a single bite, they are considered one of the most dangerous. If it is a king brown, Dave and I will definitely have to be on our toes.
Chris?
Yep.
Tim?
G'day.
Hey Chris, David.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
No worries. So you got a snake, eh?
Yeah, he's
All
just
right.
went in the shed here.
Where is he?
So last I saw him, he was up that way somewhere. I know he hasn't left the shed anyway. Don't quite know where he is.
Okay, it's pretty well sealed. It looks good.
Yeah, I don't think he could get out.
And how big are we talking?
He looked pretty big.
He's big?
Yeah. I reckon definitely more than a metre.
Okay.
Maybe even 2.
All right, mate. Well, it might be helpful too if you stand here and just if something comes your way, head back there.
Yeah,
but tell us he's there. Okay, we're gonna have a rummage.
Give us a hook, mate, and I'll leave it.
Yeah, take that.
All right.
Well, give us a yell if you find him.
Yep.
Urban environments provide plenty of hiding spots, making shy and elusive snakes all the harder to find. In an enclosed area like this, Dave and I need to be extra careful. Snakes are at their most dangerous when they're cornered.
Well, I see him, Tim.
You got
He's
him?
in here. Yep.
What
He's
is
stuck
it?
behind that bag. It's king brown for sure.
Kingy.
Yep.
He's a whopper. Mate.
This is going to be one tough catch. We have to make sure we don't lose sight of him. He's not the kind of snake you want wandering around your backyard. I'm just outside Swan Reach in South Australia, on my way to meet a team of committed researchers. First up is Dr. Dave Taggart. He's dedicated his life to wombats for over 2 decades. Then there's Dr. Elisa Sparrow. She got a dream job studying wombats 13 years ago. Big Ron? He's a proper bushman and has been involved with wombats in one way or another all his life. And then there's Dr. Wayne Boardman. He's a vet dedicated to the care of these iconic marsupials. Together, they're the wombat wranglers who like nothing better than spending their time in the outback. All in the interest of the southern hairy-nosed wombat's survival.
Come on in.
Yeah?
Welcome to the world of wombats, mate.
I'm glad to be here. This is where it all happens,
This
eh?
is where it all happens.
Having met the team, I'm keen to find out more about the situation in Swan Reach.
So, over the 23 years, what have been the most dramatic or even, I guess, significant finds?
2001, massive drought came through this area. The population crashed by about 85%. So instead of going out and see 200 animals a night, we might go out and see 20.
Dave's biggest concern is with temperature increases. If it gets much hotter out here, wombats will suffer even more. As climate change continues to alter the environment, it's hoped the work here will set out a plan to save the wombats and other semi-arid species. I've not arrived on the best of nights. There's a full moon in the sky, and the wombats know it gives potential predators an advantage. And to them, a bunch of people on the back of a ute is a worry. We've got a lot of ground to cover tonight. The property covers 5,000 acres. That's a massive area for wombats to hide. But luckily, I'm with the pros.
Wombat, wombat.
Believe it or not, they can run at an incredible 40 kilometres an hour. Usain Bolt might have a chance, but that's too fast for me. Once he gets to his burrow, there's no chance we're going to be able to fish him out.
There's still dust flying up here from where a wombat just went down. But look at the size of this thing. 2 entrances, maybe they link up, and there's that rocky barrier that they're under. Next one.
First wombat seen, first one to escape. Let's hope this trend doesn't continue.
Okay, wombat.
There he is. They're a bit flighty. And when we've run, it just dropped down in the burrow. Fingers crossed for a few more.
A couple of failed attempts, and I'm getting a little worried that the moonlight is going to be our undoing. But we're not going to give up yet.
Got him, got him. Stay there, mate. Stay there, you got the sack?
Hey, well done.
Hey, he's a big fella.
Starting to get a hang of this. Now what you need to do is try and get him in one corner of the net.
So we want him to go this way or this way? Come on, buddy.
Yeah, one way or the other. There he goes. Get him to walk this way. Then push him right forward, stand behind him. Then you have to reach around, grab the net under his arms and lift him up, stand off the net and drop him in the sack.
There we go.
Good.
Yep. Right.
Yeah, let him go. Let him go. That's it, he's in.
Beauty. Wow.
Quick. Good work, mate.
First wombat in the bag. He was a bit stunned from the light and he just sat there, came around the side, and went right in the net.
Back on track. With the first wombat on the ute, spirits are up. Tonight could just turn out all right. However, if there's one thing that I've learnt, it's that wrangling animals can sometimes be a very humbling experience. And tonight is no exception. We've been out here for a while now and still only caught the one. While the team assesses our options, Elisa fills me in on the area.
Part of Wombat's long-term conservation is about getting some of the farmers involved in coexisting with wombats, because you'll find wombats predominantly on agricultural properties in South Australia. And really, if you want them to be conserved long term, we really need to engage the farmers, work with them, look at ways that they can still make a living, but that wombats can also still live on their properties and, you know, keep going for many generations to come.
We've decided to give it one last crack.
Wombat, wombat.
And already, we've got ourselves another boulder.
Got him. Hello, mate. Got one. That's number 2.
Well done, mate.
Wow.
You make this look easy.
That's the second wombat. There's warrens all around here. Just spot one, get the spotlight on him, and then run. Here, mate. Got him. Hello. Look at you. He's a big fella.
He actually is a good source.
Yep. Good?
Yep. You let him go. Yeah.
It's okay, I'll carry it, don't worry.
That's 3, Dave.
Yeah, I reckon that'll about do us here. We might get these ones back and start processing.
That was a lot of fun.
All right,
Righto.
let's get back.
G'day. I'll get on the back.
Considering the moonlight usually scares them off, 3 is not a bad number. Hopefully the wombats are as healthy as our haul. I'm on a property in Broome, Western Australia, working with Dave from the local reptile rescue. After receiving a call about a massive snake, we've been searching a suburban shed and managed to get our first glimpse.
He's a whopper.
As we thought, it's a king brown, one of the world's most deadly.
Okay, he's curled up in that corner. This might be a go here. Okay, I've got a tail. Whoa! Stay there, buddy. Come here, don't want to lose him. Okay, got him. Okay, you got the bag, mate?
Yep, coming.
Yep, that'd be good. Okay, settle down, big fella. Settle down. Look at that. That's a big snake.
He's a whopper.
Oh, and again. Stay down, buddy.
Little dance.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh, mouth open.
All right.
Well done, mate. That's the biggest king I've ever caught.
Troy, that's a beauty, all right.
Did you see him? That's a good size. And you know, in the other states, gone, cane toads. So WA now is a real refuge. See a king like that is an impressive sight. Did I shake your hand? Well done.
Again, that's a beauty.
Thanks, Chris. I bet you're happy he's not cruising around your house.
Yeah, no, I don't really want him hanging around. Thanks for getting rid of him.
Ah, mate, brilliant snake. Thank you. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks
very
heaps.
much, mate. Yeah.
See you, mate.
Good snake?
Yeah, that's a beauty.
While king browns are still thriving around Broome, this could be a good opportunity to get one into the Venom program back at the park.
Dave, he's a ripper of a snake, mate. We could use him for the program.
Yeah, well, if you want him, he's yours.
We would love him, mate, if we can have him.
No worries. I'll box him up, send him over to you. Be there before you get home.
Oh, that sounds like a plan, mate. Home before I get there.
Yeah, mate. No,
Sounds good.
A local snake means there'd be anti-venom that works for snake bites in this area, and that means life saved.
And Dave wasn't kidding when he said our little mate would be here before I got home. He sure was. And he's had a week or so to settle in now, and it's time for the first milking. That's easier said than done. Now, I gotta switch hands. Settle, mate, settle. And, whoa, hey.
It's all coming back to me now. He was a handful in the shed, and he's proving a handful here.
Okay, all right. Now we've got the snake.
I don't know what it is about WA kingies. They don't give you any room to make a single mistake. One slip and that's it. He'll have me.
Here's the vial. What I'm gonna do is present to that. When the fangs sink in, that'll stimulate the flow of venom. Ready? Whoa, look at that. There's not a lot you can do when this happens. Can't let go. That is an unbelievable amount of venom. That's exactly why a snake like this needs to be a part of this program. That's going to go a long way to saving lives. Well done, mate. It's time to put him away, then he gets a feed.
200 to 300 lives are saved every year across Australia, thanks to the venom from these snakes. I can't tell you how proud that makes everyone working here at the park. I'm in outback South Australia helping out the Wombat wranglers. We've been out all night and caught 3.
Got him!
Now we're heading back to base to give them a health check. On the way, we've run into a curious local.
There's one.
Have a look at that. That's an owlet nightjar. It's Australia's smallest nightjar. He's a nocturnal bird. That's why he's got such big eyes. He's just sitting in the middle of the road, might have had a feed, maybe just resting. Look at those big whiskers. Just beautiful, hey? He's a...
Lucky we aren't having to catch owlets. Better get back to the shed. The team performs an extensive health check of the wombats. From this, they can determine a broader view of how the population is faring.
Right, Tim, here's the wombat.
Beauty.
Can you give me a hand weighing it?
Yep, love
Beauty.
to.
Gotta weigh it first so I can get the right dose right for the anaesthetic.
Yep.
23.5 kilos, minus a kilo for the bag, so 22.5. Beauty.
What's the biggest?
Oh, they go up to about 35. I think the biggest that's ever been found here is about 38 kilos. Big
That's
one.
a big wombat.
Before they're able to be handled, the wombats need to be put to sleep, an activity that these animals are pretty used to.
You on the side?
So yeah, we try and find the muscle here.
Yep.
Just there's a, I can feel the knee there.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just going to inject it into the muscles in the thigh.
Didn't even feel it.
No. So I've just got to give another injection.
That's just because of the size of the wombat.
Yeah,
It needs to.
because it's a big one.
The wombat's had its anaesthetic and now we wait for it to go to sleep. But I wonder, are there other main threats that they face?
Yeah, well, we've had a few problems over the last 3 years or so. We've had a lot of these wombats have been pretty sick. We've had a hell of a lot that have been nutritionally deficient, and we think it's related to the fact that the habitat that they're in has been pretty denuded, pretty damaged.
Wayne says by the end of a long, hot summer, all that's left to eat is an invasive weed that provides hardly any nutrition. The wombats become more prone to disease. They lose hair as malnutrition sets in, and it eventually leads to organ failure. It's the young wombats that suffer the most. They simply don't have the strength to survive. Luckily, we haven't seen any signs of disease tonight.
Do you think we have a sleepy wombat?
Well, we can go and have a look and see what it's doing. They normally keel over.
Yeah, well, there we go. He's on his
Has
side.
he keeled over?
Yep. Yep.
He certainly has. So do you want to grab its legs, Tim, and just pull it out?
Sure. And we've got a boy.
We have. There we are.
Look at that.
Whee! Good shake.
Was that a bit of a twitch, eh?
Wayne has a checklist he goes through to see just how healthy each wombat is. This one's general condition is pretty good. He's got a few fleas and a bit of hair loss, but his teeth seem to be in great shape, by wombat standards. Now, out with the stethoscope.
It's quite a low heart rate. Do you want to listen?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Incredibly, they're able to lower both their breathing and heart rate.
Yeah, I can only just hear it.
You're right.
Combined with their low metabolism, this allows them to conserve energy while bunkering down during the heat of the day. This mob measures everything. Ears, head, feet, and tail.
So we get some reproductive measurements, a scrotum width. Yep, that's it.
51. Or should I give him a few more?
Yeah, whack on a few more.
Yeah?
Yeah, we'll tell all the girls.
How much are we adding?
No. 51, call it 75.
Okay, right, yeah, got it.
Yep.
Last but not least, a quick scan will let us know whether this fella's been chipped before.
So that means you already know him?
Exactly. This is a recapture, so we'll go back, check the database when we get back to work and see how many times we've caught this one before.
With all the tests done, it's time for a hard-earned rest. We'll be back tomorrow for the release. Wombats spend 3/4 of their lives underground. One reason is because they're sensitive to heat, which is why it's late afternoon before we set off for the release.
Put their back against your chest. Away we go.
All of the wombats have been given a clean bill of health.
Thank you.
Time to get going.
Heavy?
Absolutely.
Away we go. Take it easy down there, boss.
For the wombat's well-being, the team have to record where the catches were made. This means that we can be sure the location of release is actually their home.
It's not hard to see where home is. Look at that. There you go, mate. There you go. Off you go. Look at that, eh?
Releasing these wombats back to their burrows is a great feeling. The research from studying them in this area is going a long way to ensure their survival.
This is our last little female to let go, but she's been nice and warm in that bag, and I think she's having a bit of a tough time choosing to head off to that burrow in the cold. We'll stay right there.
Time to go
Off
home.
you go, please. Wrong way. She knew where she was, hey? She knew where she was. Well, that was a great 24 hours. Thank
worries.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Had a good time.
400 of us now.
Big Ron is a bit of a legend amongst wombat wranglers. And back at the wool shed, he's got one last surprise for me.
Ancient Order of the Wombat Catchers. This is the certifier that Tim Faulkner battled the road to Cooloola Woolshed, withstood the heat, the cold, the rain, wind, dust and flies, braved midnight trips to the dunny, did headstands down the Wombat holes and over fences, marbled at the Milky Way, watched the Southern Cross and didn't get lost. All in the interests of science and conservation at Cooloola Station, Swan Reach. Well, good on you, mate. Thank you very
Welcome to
much.
the club.
Thank you.
The coast of Australia is as diverse as it is long. Apart from glaciers meeting the sea, pretty much every example of coastline you can imagine features along its length. From sheer-faced cliffs to pristine white beaches and everything in between.
And where this great land down under meets the sea, we have some of the most remarkable flora and fauna in the world. A lot of it unique to our shores. This is Roebuck Bay in northwestern Australia, and I'm here to see some of the fantastic sights this corner of the continent has to offer.
This body of water is massive. It covers 550 square kilometres. That's 8 times larger than Sydney Harbour. And it's extremely varied in its makeup. Red cliffs on the northern shore give the beaches their distinctive colour. There are estuaries that offer sanctuary to a host of animals. And over on the eastern edge, there's mangrove-lined creeks, excellent nurseries for fish and crustaceans.
But it's down there that makes this place so special to me.
These mudflats support one of the highest densities of invertebrates anywhere in the world. It's estimated up to 500 species can be found below the surface.
And for shorebirds, that means one thing, plenty of food.
I'm on my way to meet local rangers at the Broome Bird Observatory who regularly conduct mud surveys to check on the health of the bay. It might not sound glamorous, but it's essential to monitor invertebrate numbers.
Roebuck Bay is renowned worldwide for its shorebirds, but its success depends on so many factors, both here and overseas.
We need to know that the bay is producing enough food to support the many wading shorebirds that arrive here from breeding grounds thousands of kilometres to the north.
G'day, I'm Tim.
G'day Tim, Luke.
Nice to
Luke
meet you.
and Jason are Yaru, the traditional owners around here. They work with Bonnie on these surveys for the Western Australian Parks and Wildlife Department.
I do, mate.
Where are we headed?
Just down onto the mudflats, mate.
Beautiful. Can I carry something?
Yep, you can grab that and I'll grab these two.
Righto, after you. What are we actually doing today, Luke?
So today, Tim, what we're going to do is we're going to walk out onto the mud about 100, 150 metres, get some samples, some mud samples. And what that does is it gives us an idea of the biodiversity within the mud.
Which is all the little living things in there.
Yeah, all the little macro invertebrates within the mud that at the birds that the migratory shorebirds feed on here.
Yep. And so I know the shorebirds well, and they've all got different length bills, so I guess that in that mud, there's going to be different layers and different organisms?
Yeah, definitely. If you look at the core here, you see we've got a notch marked out there, and that indicates the length of the longest bill of the shorebird here.
Yeah, what's that?
That's about 25 centimetres, and that's probably the bill of the eastern curlew.
Eastern curlew,
yeah.
Yep.
And whatever's in that will give us an idea of what the birds are feeding on and how the bay is.
And what's the feeling at the minute? That the bay's pretty healthy? Is everyone happy with it?
Yeah, I think it's pretty healthy. We're still getting a good influx of birds coming in and feeding off the mudflat. So, it still looks pretty good.
You've got a good influx. You've got one of the best assortments of waders in the world.
Yeah, that's it. I think over 300,000 birds fly in annually.
And they've got a lot of pressure throughout the world, so it's nice they come here and there's management and they're safe.
Grabbing samples has to be done at low tide. Once the water's gone out, there's a massive area to collect from.
We're on light. Yeah. So that's the spot. What do we do now?
We'll collect some samples.
Yep.
So each sample consists of 6 cores. So 6 of these cores will make 1 sample.
Okay. So this is the dirty bit?
Yep, this is it.
And then we head back?
And we head back and we go back to the Broome Bird Observatory lab where we sort through the samples.
See what's in there?
Yep.
Righto, I'm going to follow you. I'll go as deep as you go.
With every scoop, we're hoping to find a thriving population of invertebrates. From this, it can be determined whether there is enough food for the migratory birds when they arrive from the north. If the numbers ever get critically low, it's hoped that practices can be worked out that will boost the population.
1 mud sample. There you go, mate. Oh, there's a few little things in there.
Stuff, Tim. We'll have to get you out here more often, I think.
Hey, anytime. So get rid of most of that mud, hey? Try and keep the organic stuff.
Righto. This is definitely harder work than I thought it would be. Wading through this quicksand-like mud in the harsh Broome heat is not a task for the faint-hearted.
What do you got in there, Luke? Pippies,
yeah,
I know that one.
A few pippies, you got a few dog whelks here as well.
Dog whelks?
The little snails.
Yep.
Yeah. Saw a few little wormy things earlier on.
Okay. I don't want to sound ungrateful because I'm very happy to be here, especially with waders and their food. But this is dirty, hard work.
Oh, it is, but a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. No one's thrown mud at me yet. I've managed to do a pretty good job myself.
Oh, yeah.
With enough samples gathered, we're ready to bag the goodies and head in. Back at the observatory, and after one more thorough clean, it's time to see what we've got.
Mud holds together. What are we mainly seeing in here?
So out of these samples, we're looking for the dog whelks.
Yeah, plenty of them.
Yeah, these big, the pippies, the big ones, and there's a couple of small ones in here as well.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I saw.
This here?
Yep. Yeah, those wormy things.
And this is good bird tucker.
Oh yeah, birds love it.
Looking out over that mud flat, we sampled quite a bit of mud, but in a very small area, and you've got kilometres and kilometres of it. So that's lots of bird food for a healthy population.
Yeah, during our big spring tides, over 190 square kilometres of mudflats exposed.
Full of that.
And that's just a small sample of what's out there.
It's no wonder it's one of the world's greatest shorebird spots.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
All of the live samples will now be bottled and sent for processing. Now we know what the bay has to offer on its gourmet menu. Who are the dinner guests? For me, this is definitely one of the most amazing sights in nature. It's the high tide roost. Literally thousands of waders have congregated up here on the northern beaches of the bay. Just down there is a group of 2,000 to 3,000 migratory waders. There's godwits, dowitches, knots, sandpipers and sandplovers. As the water comes up, they preen, digest their food and rest. And when the tide goes back out,
they'll go with it and begin to feed and gorge themselves all over again.
They come together in their thousands because there's safety in numbers. Predators up in the sky will easily pick off a lone bird. Each of the 300,000 waders that visit here are feeding and fattening up in readiness to continue one of wildlife's great migrations.
This is just one stage in an amazing journey these birds make every year. 35 species start their migration south in China, Siberia and Alaska, many of which fly 12,500 kilometres and end up here at Roebuck Bay.
There's one there. He's a godwit. A few short weeks ago, he would have been devouring insects that bloom in their billions in the brief Arctic summer. Like all of these birds, they'd have built up a fat reserve, almost doubling in weight. That provides the fuel needed to migrate the massive distance to the southern hemisphere.
Some fly 10,000 kilometres non-stop. Can you imagine that? Others choose to stop off along the way, and therein lies a problem.
Migratory birds use what are known as flyways. There are 8 of them around the world. The birds here in Roebuck Bay have arrived via the East Asian Australasian flyway, and that stretches all the way from the Arctic down to Tasmania. For the ones that have to stop off and refuel en route here, it becomes a treacherous endeavour, and it's getting worse.
6,000 kilometres north of here lies the Yellow Sea. That separates China and South Korea, 2 of the fastest growing economies on Earth.
Unfortunately, history tells us growing economies aren't good for wildlife. And in the case of the Yellow Sea, where well over 600 million people live in the river catchments that drain into it, industry, agriculture and urban development have devoured vast expanses of mudflat where migrators once fed.
Around 50% of all intertidal areas have been destroyed, and many believe that to be the single greatest threat to migratory shorebirds that would otherwise arrive here at Roebuck Bay.
Back in 2006, a 33-kilometre seawall was completed on the west coast of South Korea that completely obliterated 400 square kilometres of tidal mudflat.
The Yellow Sea was a staging site for at least 1/3 of the world's population of great knots, quite a few of which are right there. But since the seawall's construction, at least 20% of them have disappeared, killed by man's ongoing destruction of wildlife habitat.
And the scary thing is the land grabbing in the Yellow Sea continues to this day.
It's all very concerning, but as I've found today, there's still plenty of birds to see.
It's hard to imagine some of these birds travel 25,000 kilometres each year. That's the equivalent distance from Earth to the Moon over a lifetime. But it's the start of life's journey that's the hardest. The Siberian spring kicks into gear with a flourish of life.
It may only last a few short weeks, but when the insects come out, it's a feeding frenzy for the chicks who need to fatten up in readiness for the great flight south.
Because the parents have a tight schedule to keep, it doesn't matter whether you're the smallest or the largest. Once you're able to fly, you're going to be left to your own devices. If they don't get back to their non-breeding areas like here in Roebuck Bay to molt and feed, they won't be able to make the journey back north to breed next season.
As for the chicks, they start their journey a little later than the adults before the breeding grounds freeze over.
These birds' lives are run like clockwork. They have to be in order to survive.
The view here may look pristine, and although the wildlife isn't an immediate threat, there are concerns about the health of the bay.
Runoff and polluted groundwater coming from Broome itself enters the bay directly through stormwater drains.
And that wastewater entering the bay causes an algal bloom, a blue-green algae that forms thick mats or clumps made up of fine hair-like strands.
The trouble with this stuff is it wrecks everything in the bay the wildlife relies on to eat. Everything from the invertebrates in the mud to the seagrass that feeds the local populations of dugongs and turtles. It's not as obvious as a 33-kilometre seawall that obliterated feeding grounds that have served as staging posts for migratory birds for thousands of years. But these blooms do give us a good idea of what mankind does to make life in the bay and oceans beyond problematic. Reduce them and it's simple. You help the biodiversity of wherever you are. Surprisingly, the bay itself is not protected. There's no national park status as yet. There isn't even anything in law to stop development along these shores. Increased human activities will have a detrimental effect. Shorebirds are impacted by our disturbances. Recreational activities, agriculture and industrial growth are amongst the most worrying. The bay isn't only home to thousands of shorebirds. Now that the tide has come in, the biodiversity has exploded as marine life returns from the sea. And it's in the bay that I'm hoping to catch a sighting of one of Australia's most recent discoveries. There's an aquatic mammal out there that was only recognised as a species in its own right 10 years ago. New mammal discoveries are extremely rare, so it got the zoological world very excited. Which is why in the past decade, research into this new marine animal has gone through the roof. To see the work being done, I've been invited along on one of the latest expeditions.
WWF actually thought, well, we need to know more about this species because basically nothing's known about it.
Yeah, sure. Alexander is from the World Wildlife Fund. They're collaborating with other organisations and leading research into the Roebuck Bay population of snub-fin dolphins, or snubbies as they're commonly known.
We came out here, we started helping researchers from the ANU and then Murdoch University, and now with Yaru. I've gone and actually looked at all the different types of dolphins in the bay, the individuals, and through taking photos of the particular fins, we can identify individuals, and then after that we've determined there's about 130, 140 in the bay, which is great.
And what makes Roebuck Bay so attractive to the snubbies?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Roebuck Bay is an incredible place. It's got 300,000 shorebirds come and actually visit the place because of all the food in the mud. And so we believe that the reason why there's such a large population of snubbies here is because it's really productive. There's lots of food, not only for birds, but also for dolphins. And so this population occurs pretty much in this bay, probably filters further south into 80 Mile Beach. And yeah, this is their home.
Now that I know a little more about their situation in the bay, I can't wait to spot one. As Alexander says, there's around 140 snubbies out there, but it's a big old place, so I reckon we've got our work cut out to grab a sighting. Same one. But the boys tell me conditions are perfect for the dolphins, so fingers crossed.
Hey. I'm here until March and then the first of
There's at least two out there. Is there?
There's a couple over here.
There we go, they're just loafing out here.
There's some out there?
Yeah, there's two out here.
Our first sighting. Wow! Snubbies are scattered along Australia's northern shores, often playing in small groups, just like this lot. Even though they were only discovered a decade ago, it's not like they've just moved in. Up until then, sightings were thought to be of the Irrawaddy dolphin that's common in Southeast Asia.
Some scientists in Queensland went out there and realised actually they have different colours. They've got 3 shades of grey on them effectively, and they went and took some genetic tests, and sure enough, they're an endemic Australian dolphin.
Even from here, you can see how they differ from other dolphins. Their dorsal fin, which is much smaller, is where they get their name from, and it sits further along the back than other dolphins. It also doesn't have much of a snout compared to the common bottlenose. The snubbies we're seeing are just loafing on top of the water, and the boys say they've been out feeding, and when they come in now, they loaf around. We don't go too close with the boat, but as soon as they see us, they tend to head off slowly or dive. Jahani is one of the Yaru ranges, who are committed to the protection of snubbies in the bay.
What are the biggest threats to them in here?
In here, well, you got the other things like sharks and stuff like that, but you got the dinghies and that with their props. Yeah. Some people just aren't careful and they don't realise what's in front of them and they end up hitting them, you know. But
that's a big problem.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but I mean, we don't get many reports, but I guess no one's really going to report it. And
they might even know.
Yeah, and they don't even know that they've done it, you know.
So they can deal with sharks and crocodiles, but a boat propeller?
But a boat propeller is a bit different, so it's just a matter of people being careful, you know.
And to you, why is it important to protect the bay or protect snubfin?
I guess because they're quite rare. The snubfin dolphins are quite rare, so we got a passion for looking after everything anyways, you know. That's just who we are. But yeah, I guess because they're rare, we want to make sure that they're looked after. Yeah.
And you can understand them more and learn about them.
Yes, it's nice out here. We just want to keep it that way.
When the snubbies are feeding and playing, they're oblivious to the dangers around them, which is why, as the bay becomes more and more popular with leisure boats, strikes are on the increase. Injuries from these encounters are evident on some of the dolphins around us today. There's a greater threat to the snubbies out there, more so than sharks or even someone's propeller.
Probably the biggest threat to coastal dolphins is commercial fishing, gill net fishing. One of the great things that's happened in this bay was last year they actually banned commercial fishing, and so that should effectively protect this dolphin.
There are plans to make the bay a marine park. Still some time off, mind you, but once that happens, the whole ecosystem will benefit. This place is on the National Heritage Register and was even recognised back in 1971 as an internationally important wetland. In my opinion, it's imperative the marine park status is approved as soon as possible, not just for the dolphins, but all the animals that call the bay home.
So it seems like there's a lot of good science happening here, and a lot of good management from locals. And that means the dolphins will be around for a long time to come.
Absolutely. And so the great thing is that the Yaru country managers are actually out here every month doing their surveys, and so they're having a good look at where these dolphins are, how their population is going. And one of the interesting things about this dolphin is it's in such relatively small numbers, 140 animals. We'll actually start seeing them decline if they do, and that'll give us an indication that something's going wrong in the bay.
The signs are looking good for one of the world's most recent discoveries. It's encouraging that there are so many dedicated people looking after this unique mammal.
See you later, fellas. Thanks for the day.
No worries.
Good on you. It's a great program that'll undoubtedly benefit the wildlife that call Roebuck Bay home.
This is Rottnest Island. It lies just off the coast of Perth in Western Australia and is famously home to the happiest animal on Earth. If you haven't already heard, let me explain. This is the Quokka, and they've caused an internet sensation over the past few years with people desperate to get a selfie. Given there's believed to be between 8,000 and 12,000 on the island, and they're not what you'd call particularly shy, it's not hard to get the perfect shot. Quokkas aren't the only animals living on the island, of course. There's plenty more, and I've got the rest of the day to see what I can find. These inland saltwater lakes provide a perfect habitat for a number of bird species. Banded stilts are endemic to Australia, and there's a healthy population that calls Rottnest home. They, like all other waders, come here to feed on brine shrimp. Australian shelducks can be found in pairs across the island. For me, they're one of the most beautiful ducks. Over on the mainland, they nest in hollows, but here on Rottnest, they've learned to adapt. Rock crevices are their favoured locations, but they're also known to utilise offshore stacks.
Just here is a tiny freshwater pond. Right behind it is a saltwater lake, and the island's obviously surrounded by saltwater. And when it gets dark tonight, there's a few little frogs that I reckon I can find here. And they didn't swim here across the ocean or fly here. They, in fact, were always here. This island used to be joined to the mainland only 7,000 years ago. When sea levels rose, it cut it off, and the frogs now cling to these little pockets of fresh water. I hope I can find them tonight.
Later in the year, humpback whales will migrate past Rottnest to their breeding grounds off the northwest coast. Today though, I'm here to see some sunseekers down at the water.
These are Australian fur seals, and they're a bit of a success story back on Rottnest. Now, throughout Australia in the old days, they were overhunted and disappeared from most areas. Numbers got critically low. But now, they're starting to move out of the southern parts of Australia, like South Australia and Tasmania, and repopulate areas like Rottnest Island, where they once were. They're in here because they can rest and relax. They get up on the rocks, splash around in this shallow water, but what they do need to do is get out to the deep ocean to feed. That's when they've got to run the gauntlet of great white sharks.
Down at the western end of the island, this curious little critter has popped its head out for a look around. It's a king skink.
I've tried to get my hands on a few, but they are quick.
17 species of lizard have been recorded on Rottnest, but the king skink is definitely the one you're most likely to see, darting amongst the limestone rocks. These spots of bare sand amongst the foliage are entries to wedge-tailed shearwaters or muttonbird burrows. They migrate north in early May and don't return until August. The months in between just so happen to be the coldest on the island, so the king skinks make use of the shelter. It's fair to say they'd be kicked out come August.
Now, the king skinks are omnivorous, and that means they eat a range of things, from plants to small insects, other little animals, bird eggs. But here in particular at this spot, they're feeding on the succulent plants and their little berries and fruits, and insects opportunistically. Funnily enough, on a small island like this, the king skink is almost top of the food chain. There's an absence of predators, but there is one thing that eats them.
7,000 years cut off from the mainland means some subtle differences have come about in certain species found both here and across the water. One of those species is the king skink's only terrestrial nemesis on Rottnest. That 19-kilometre stretch of water and a few thousand years evolution has led to some genetic differences, but it doesn't mean the dugite snake has lost any of its toxicity. Make no bones about it, if a dugite strikes, it can be fatal. The sandy top layer of the island is just what they like.
Where is he? Where did he go? There he is. Come here, mate. Look at that. That's one of the world's most venomous snakes. It's a dugite, member of the brown snake family. Oh, I've never caught one in my life. Very long and slender, very quick. It's a bit chilly this morning. It's mid-morning. The skinks are up and out, and that's what he's looking for. And this low, heathy country is exactly their preferred habitat. He's about a metre, good size. Stay down there, buddy. Hey, there you go. Now, he's pretty settled. I milk a lot of eastern brown snakes and a few dugites at the Reptile Park. And they're one of the worst snakes to work with. They are so quick and so cranky. But he's pretty settled. You're talking here, one bite from this can spell death, untreated. Now, a proper bandage, anti-venom, and you should be right. I do not want to bite. And they're dark here too. Darker than the ones I've got at the Reptile Park. I think that's because this island, reasonably cold, even in the warmer months. So that dark coloration just allows them to pick up a bit more of the sun's warmth. Hey mate, don't you look at me there. Oh, having a stare off. There we go. And what a find. Now look in that belly, it's pretty full. Wonder if that's one of the king skinks in there. This is an elapid, a front-fanged venomous snake. Now their fangs aren't that long, so the delivery system is not that good. But if they get a good enough bite and you get a dose of venom, you're in real strife. The venom itself has strong neurotoxins. Basically stop the brain from sending signals to the body, and in turn, you become paralysed. Big eyes, that's because they're diurnal. So they're out hunting through the daytime, and those eyes make really good vision, spotting things like skinks. And there you go, that tongue is flicking. That's how they smell. They don't have a nose like us, they taste the air. And you flick that tongue out, draw it back into the top of the mouth, they can get on the scent of a skink, like a king skink. What a beautiful snake. I'm happy to have seen that. Gives me a good appreciation when I work with these at the reptile park, milk them, provide venom for anti-venom. Now I get to see one in the wild. And what better place than Rottnest Island? Off you go, mate. Thank you. Off he goes. I've had a call from a mate, Dan. He's about half an hour away from the reptile park up in the mountains, researching frogs. And he called me and said since it started raining a few nights ago, he's had some unexpected visitors. Exactly who those visitors are or what they are, he wouldn't tell me. I'm on my way up there now.
Dan is an evolutionary biologist and has been stationed here in the Watergan State Forest for a few months. It was only a few weeks ago that I was last here, checking out some of the research that he's been doing.
G'day, boys.
How you going, Tim?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
Hey, g'day. Well, I'm intrigued. What's going on?
Oh, well, this rain, it's brought out some creepy crawlies, your time stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So you've been looking at your frogs?
Yep, last 4 months.
And some of my mates have turned up?
Yep, I don't want to touch them.
We talking 8 legs or no legs?
8 legs, mate.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
All right, well, where's the site?
Just up here, mate.
Yeah?
Dan's area of study is the breeding habits of the redback toadlet.
So the frogs up here are so unique that the way they breed is pretty unknown to most scientists. So I'm up here to really understanding how these frogs are able to manage to breed successfully in such unpredictable environments.
First trap?
First trap. So...
Hey, what's going on? The first thing I notice is you're not putting your hand in there.
There's no way I'm putting my hands in these traps.
I thought we were just looking at frogs.
Yeah, frogs plus a million other things.
Look at that.
Mate, this is why you're here.
We checked the first trap and it all makes sense. Now I know why he's got me here. Funnel web spiders are coming out now it's rain and they're getting into his pitfall traps. Not exactly what you want to find when you're researching a toadlet. So you're looking at certainly Australia and possibly the world's deadliest spider.
Jesus.
Hey?
So when that funnel web rears up, you can clearly see how big its fangs are and almost see the venom just dripping off the end of them. So there's no doubt in my mind that if one of those was to latch onto your finger, it'd pump you full of venom.
Now I know why you're not putting your fingers in there.
There's no way.
Look at him. That's a male funnel web spider. It's understandable that Dan doesn't want to bump into funnel webs in his traps. They're Australia and arguably the world's deadliest spider. If he puts his hand in to grab out a toadlet and gets a nip from a funnel web, he's in real strife. If I can use one of your containers and some tongs, I might show you how to catch him safely without putting your fingers in there. I'll take whatever we catch today home and please, if you get more, we want them.
Okay, you can keep them.
I'm really happy to see funnel webs here, and that's because the reptile park is the sole supplier of funnel web venom to make anti-venom. Anyone that gets bitten by a funnel web spider in Australia, their life is saved because of the spiders we milk at the reptile park. I find a honey pot like this, that's a good day. First, just put a little bit of moist earth. That's enough. And you should just be able to scoop him up without even flicking him.
Oh, yeah.
And then just keep your fingers away. Sometimes they get their legs on the outside. Nice and gentle. Put him down in there. One funnel web spider. You think we're going to get a few?
Oh, I reckon we can get a few after this rain.
Jeez, I hope so.
Every day I have to be out here sticking my hands in these buckets, possibly risking myself with these funnel web spiders. So if I can learn how to bottle these up and get them back to the reptile park, I'll probably save myself a bite or two.
I'm on Rottnest Island, just off the coast of Perth in Western Australia. I've seen a few quokkas on my travels today, but for the most up-close views, I need to get back across the other side of the island. Darkness falls quick at this time of year, so no time to hang about. Quokkas were in fact the first mammals sighted in Australia by Europeans way back in 1658, when they were described as a wildcat. 40 years later, a Dutch sailor mistook them for rats and named the island Rottnest, which means rat nest. The word quokka itself probably originates from the local Noongar Aboriginal language. They call them Quokka. The mainland wild population has virtually disappeared.
But here, they're able to thrive. There's no feral pests like fox and the cat on mainland, and the quokkas are everywhere.
Quokkas are generally nocturnal, especially during the summer months when they spend most of the day sleeping in the shade of bushes around town or in the dense vegetation across the island. The seeds, grasses, leaves and roots they eat are very low in nutrients. So to get around this, they swallow them whole, then regurgitate a cud, which they chew on to extract the most nutritious parts.
And people are told in their signs, don't feed the quokkas. So they're not necessarily in town because there's food around. But what they are here for is this tree above me. It's a fig tree, and the leaves are edible. When they drop to the ground, the quokkas eat them.
Breeding age comes about between 18 months and 2 years. Gestation takes 27 days, and newborns are 2.5 centimetres long. Quite big for a marsupial. Just one is born each season, and it will remain in its mother's pouch suckling continuously for the first 26 to 30 weeks. At around 6 months, the joey will start to come and go until it's too big for its mother's pouch. It will then stay by her side for another couple of months until it's fully weaned. The quokkas are an obvious main attraction to the island.
And what an experience for people to have. I mean, it's not every day you can go somewhere and have a little marsupial like this bounding around in the main streets of town.
But it comes at a cost. Human food is no good for quokkas. They get dehydrated and there's not the kind of nourishment they need from a biscuit or piece of cake. Despite them being so friendly, we need to respect they're wild animals. They're not supposed to be handled and they're certainly not supposed to be abused. Unfortunately, that's what can sometimes happen with an island dependent on tourism. I've enjoyed my time on Rottnest Island. It really does give a hint of what the rest of Australia should be like. I've still got some more critters to see tonight, but I'll be leaving here a happier man. Thanks in no small part to the happiest animal on the planet.
What a wonderful spot.
Just up here, mate.
I'm helping out my mate Dan, a research biologist up here in the Wattigan State Forest.
Nobody home? Nothing in that one.
Next one.
Continue on.
He needs a hand getting rid of some unexpected guests found in his frog traps. Heavy rains have lured deadly funnel web spiders into these pits.
Anyone home?
All right, let's see what we get in this bucket.
Oh, we've got a frog and a spider. Jeez. We've got both in the same bucket. The first thing that comes to my mind is, have you ever seen a frog hurt from a spider?
Not once.
I think the funnel web venom, I know it's dangerous to humans and invertebrates. Maybe it doesn't affect the frog.
But in the same sense, those frogs have their own toxins that they secrete through their skin that makes them distasteful to predators, so...
An uneasy truce.
Yep, that's it.
I'll get the spider.
Yep, let's get him out of there.
You get your frog. That's another spider for me. I'm a happy boy.
Rightio, now I feel comfortable to put my hand in there.
Yeah. Put that in there. What do you got there?
So this is a little male, it looks like. So these ones have a unique ventral marking, so we can tell who's who.
Look at that.
Amazing, isn't it?
The redback toadlet's just beautiful, and it's obvious where they get their name from. But contrasting to that is that Dan flips it over and the pattern on the belly is black and white. And it's like a fingerprint. They're all unique and individual, and that's how he identifies each toadlet.
So we'll process this now. Do you want to be scribed?
Yeah, love to.
Sweet.
3.3 grams.
We'll just get a measurement. Okay. And that's 33 millimetres. All right, that's good. So we'll release this one.
Okay. So just a scratch here's fine?
Yep, that's good.
Last trap.
Oh, one more, see what we get.
Oh, I can already see
Oh,
someone.
there he is.
You got another spider. Come on, buddy. Spider number 3.
Done and dusted.
Well, mate, they're precious to me. Fair income they are. And if you keep catching them now you know how, I'd come up here and pick them up day after day.
Well, I'm sure I can keep them coming.
Yeah, please. Very important for us.
No worries.
I'm happy. I've got 3 spiders. That's not bad for a morning's work. They'll come back with me now to the reptile park and they'll become a part of our Venom program. See you, mate.
See you, Tim.
Back at the park, it's time to milk these funnel webs.
He is vicious. He's not going to have any trouble milking. As soon as I touch a leg or you hit that surface, boom, he's up, fangs showing. That's exactly what we want. The Australian Reptile Park is the sole supplier of funnel web antivenom. We keep up to 300 funnel webs at any one time, and that's because it can take up to 1,000 milkings to make 1 ampule of antivenom. Our little mate here today is a male funnel web spider, and although he is much smaller than females, he's 5 times more toxic, which makes him 5 times more dangerous. This is how we extract the venom. So this is a glass cylinder, and this pipe leads to a small vacuum. So what we actually do is when the spider rears up, there we go, there's venom on the end of the fang. There we go, and I've got it. It's only a small amount, but it all adds up. In that is the venom of 1,000 spiders, and we're now sending that off to the Commonwealth Serum Laboratories to be made into antivenom. So now, Dan's Redback Toadlet research program is helping our life-saving antivenom program. I'm glad he called.
There's a few more critters I want to find before I leave Rottnest Island. Those calls should give you a clue as to what they are.
Look at that. This is called the motorbike frog. And that chorus of males calling behind there is unbelievable. But the sound's not coming from this one because it's a female. I can tell that because the throat's not swollen from croaking. On the inside of these front arms, the males have a little pad like sandpaper to hold onto the females when mating. And lastly, her belly is so full. She's full of eggs. It's time to let her go and get on with her very special business tonight. Here's the second species that we could hear. This is the moaning frog, and it's actually a burrowing species, so they'll live down in a burrow through the dry times or throughout the day. And after a bit of rain, like we've been lucky enough to have this week, they surface to feed and mate. And look at it, it's blown right up with air to try and make itself look as big as possible. I'm not gonna hurt you, buddy. And now he's 3 times fatter than he was when I picked him up. And they do that for a really clever reason. Let's say the main predator on this island is a dugite, brown snake. Now when the dugite grabs this frog and tries to swallow it, the dugite's mouth isn't big enough to stretch over the body and it can't get around, and I think the frog's thinking, well, maybe he'll let me go. But also, they play dead. Blown right up, motionless. A lot of animals like to eat live prey. If the frog can trick the predator into thinking it's already dead, maybe the predator won't eat him. Very clever.
Now to the third and most elusive of the island's frogs.
You can hear them now, they're all around me. It's a little crinnier, a small species of amphibian. But they are really difficult to find. There's hundreds of them here. I've looked for a while and I cannot find them. All 3 of the island's frog species, either caught or heard. That's not bad, and considering they're freshwater frogs on a saltwater island, it's even better. It's time for me to go now. I've had a great day. The main worry is that I trip over a quokka between here and home.
Australia's landscape and its wildlife has had a hard time since European settlement. and none more so than here in South Australia's Flinders Ranges. 50 species of native mammals roamed these lands at the time of colonisation, but within just 2 generations, at least 15 had disappeared. And until recently, just 29 were known to still exist in the region. That was until a group of western quolls were reintroduced a few months back in a bid to repopulate the land they were last seen on way back in the 1880s. Tomorrow, I have the pleasure of helping release the next generation back into the wild. And that gives me a little bit of time to do some spotlighting before I get my head down. Once night falls, familiar sounds fill the air from the pools dotted along this dry riverbed.
The Flinders Ranges is arid country, but there are little pools of water between the gorges. And I've just stopped at one here, and it's true what they say, where there's water, there's life. As soon as I arrive at the pond, I can hear frogs calling. There was wallabies scattering off and tracks everywhere to come down and drink here. Microbats flying overhead. And of course, amphibians. There are some tadpoles in there that are some of the biggest I have ever seen. Where there's tadpoles, there's frogs. There's 2 different species here, and there's a couple more croaking. I'm going to let them go now. And just here is a gecko. It's actually a Ditella. They're almost transparent. On the underside, you can actually see into the belly. Big eyes because they're nocturnal. And not all geckos have them, but Ditellas certainly do have sticky fingers. People think they're suction caps, but they're not. It's in fact tiny little hairs on the bottom of their pads, and the hairs are so fine that they can stick into surfaces, including glass. And they live all through these ranges, and they're really versatile. They'll be up in the rocky crevices, down here in the creek bed, under bark on trees. Anywhere, there's a stable source of food, insects, and they can jump. I've actually had some that have jumped from my fingers onto my face. I'll put him right back where I found him.
I'm up and out early next morning to meet part of the team returning western quolls to the wild, here in the Flinders Ranges National Park. We're heading to a soft release pen. Orphan juveniles that were rescued, hand-reared, and are now big enough for release were put in a week ago so they could acclimatise to their new surroundings. We've got 2 to collect from this pen that will need to be given an identity before they're released. These are 2 of 7 born to a female let go in the initial release. Sadly, she was killed by a feral cat, so her young were taken into care at Adelaide Zoo before they were brought back here.
Let's see what we've got. We've got one?
Yeah.
Ah, look at that. Settle down, mate. Hey. Cover him up. Settle down, buddy. So you just put the bag over the front, pop him straight in. Look at that. Beauty. Got another one.
Yeah.
Ah, look at that.
That's what I want.
Look at that. Little female, maybe? The bag gets tucked under the trap and right around it, and it's obviously a dark bag, so as soon as that door goes up, the quoll sees the darkness within the bag, darts straight in, and he's captured. Right to go?
Yep.
Okay, got him. There you have it. Little quoll. We've got both the ones we needed from in here.
The initial release of 41 quolls went really well, and a checkup a few months later showed they were fit and healthy. A couple were lost to foxes or feral cats, but all of the females that were captured had active pouches. That fact alone was a massive boost for the team and meant the next generation of Flinders quolls was on the way. The juveniles are proof of that, And with them safely boxed away until their release later this afternoon, we can get on with our next job. The team has been called together for a briefing on tonight's work. It's time for another check on the population. They need to know it's healthy and, most importantly, reproducing. The traps have to be set late in the afternoon, so none of the quolls are caught in the heat of the day. Not much chance of that happening, given the quolls are mostly nocturnal, but it's a precaution worth taking. Catherine Mosley is leading the team dedicated to returning Western quolls to the ranges.
A lot of releases are in fenced areas or offshore islands, but this one's not. It's quite different.
It is, and it's got its own set of challenges. So you get continual reinvasion of feral animals, so you're continually having to bait and remove feral cats and foxes. And also when you release the quolls, they can go up to 100 kilometres away, so you've got to try and find them in such a large area.
Yeah, and there's no quick fix solution. This is a big picture, long-term project.
That's it. Fox baiting happens, 4 times a year here. You've just got to keep those foxes down in the long term, otherwise they haven't really got a chance.
Now, the initial release, how successful has that been?
Yeah, it's been really good. We've lost some to cats, and we've had really good breeding success with all our females breeding, and we're just starting to catch new animals now.
If cat numbers are low and you're losing some quolls, well, quolls have other predators in the wild also, and so you expect some die-off, but if your reproduction rate outweighs that, you're
That's
looking
right.
good.
And, they can have 6 pouch young at a time and breed every year, so you can sort of get a very large increase in population very quickly.
Very quickly. So I'm assuming the females would have come into oestrus. Did they have time to settle in and mate? What happened there?
Yeah, so we released them in April, and we got our first juvenile pouch young in the pouch, June, and they all started coming out of the pouch around November, December, and we're just starting to see those juveniles dispersing now. So
babies are a bit of an indication that something's going right.
That's right. Basically it's telling us that they're finding food all right, there's good shelter sites for them, and they just got straight into it, and pretty well maximum breeding potential was realised in the first year.
Quolls are reasonably small, but in a landscape like this, they're a big predator. What sort of function ecologically do you see them performing here?
Yeah, one of the things that's been really interesting since we released them is they've been feeding on a lot of rabbits. And so when we're controlling the cats and foxes here, there's obviously nothing then controlling the rabbits, which are also introduced. So having the quolls here feeding on the rabbits will hopefully keep that, introduced animal in check.
Yeah.
With 25 traps to set, the team has got a lot of ground to cover this evening.
Bag goes over. Just for a bit of protection. It's not cold here, but it'll make the quoll feel nice and secure inside for the little amount of time he's in there.
It only remains to be seen what we get tomorrow morning. Later tonight, I'll be meeting up with Catherine again to release the juveniles. That gives me just enough time to pop out of the pound to catch up with something I'm quite familiar with. Quolls weren't the first species in the ranges to benefit from a change in thinking towards the environment. A little further up the range, there's a population of a certain kind of wallaby that's a favourite of mine.
In the early 90s, a group of rangers and local landholders set about putting an end to the loss of the local yellowfoot rock wallaby population.
Until the 1920s, hunters had a field day supplying the fur trade with the prize pelts. In 1908 alone, one fur trader in Sydney sold 92,000 rock wallaby skins. And what the shotgun missed, land clearing and introduced predators like cats and foxes did their best to finish off.
20 years ago, those rangers concluded there was probably less than 50 left in the wild in the Flinders Ranges National Park.
But I'm told numbers are back on the rise. Nowhere near where they used to be, but well over 1,000 are now believed to be inhabiting the ranges today, and that's all thanks to the Bounce Back program. The yellowfoot was once common in arid mountain areas down the eastern side of the country and around to here in South Australia. Today, it's only found in small pockets of land in New South Wales and here. The Victorian and Queensland populations are long gone.
One of the bounce back program's greatest successes is the fact that yellowfoots are increasing in numbers and moving out into new areas, repopulating rocky slopes and caves where only a century ago they would have been found in the thousands.
They love these rocky outcrops. Caves and overhangs provide shelter from daytime temperatures that can reach 40 degrees, and they're an excellent means of escape.
There was an adult male just tucked up in this cave, and after a while he decided he'd had enough and he took off over the top of the hill. I just climbed up here, and it's easy to understand why they shelter in caves like this. It's so much cooler on the shady side of the range. And you get up in a cave like that and the temperature drops even more. Just up there are 2 wallabies, and the one at the back is a female with a large joey. Now, over the next few months, that joey's going to get too big for the pouch. And what happens between joey and mum is one reason why they're so endangered. When the joey gets too big for the pouch, but still dependent on mum's milk, maybe 1 or 2 suckles a day, mum will begin to leave the joey up on the rocks, and she'll come down to feed on grass and drink water. When she does so, that joey up there is vulnerable. They used to have to deal with things like dingoes and quolls, but since European settlement, you throw in the fox, the cat and human pressure, it's proved too much to deal with. There's a good reason that mum leaves the joey up there. When mum comes down to the ground to feed, predators on the ground are much faster than on that rock face. The rock face is the wallaby's domain. And one of the remarkable things is when mum has a drink, she goes back up onto the rocks and she actually regurgitates the water. And as she does so and it dribbles out of her mouth, the joey has a drink. That way, the joey doesn't have to come down to drink and put himself in even more danger. I've been watching the wallabies, and in their domain, they're superb athletes. Point to point, nothing is going to beat them on these rocks.
Just like this group are doing now. They'll emerge around dusk to feed. Yellowfoots can go long periods without water, but if it's sparse, they're known to travel many kilometres to drink. Since Bounceback began, over 15,000 feral goats, the wallabies' biggest competition for food on these rocks, have been taken out of the environment in the ranges.
15,000 of just one introduced species is a lot of competition in itself. Add to that rabbits and predation from foxes, it's no wonder these beautiful little creatures were on the verge of extinction.
The original Bounceback initiative seems to be working. It's great to see yellowfoots thriving, but I've got a date to keep back at the pound. I'll never get bored of driving these roads. The scenery is stunning and the wildlife plentiful. The quolls themselves are a welcome sight back in this country, and I feel lucky to be playing a part, however small it may be.
Right, well, she's ready to go, so...
This is a good spot?
This is a good spot.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Very excited. Off you go, mate. That was amazing. Took off and kept running and then bunkered down. That was a very enjoyable moment for me.
It's great to see him back in the wild.
Yeah, too right.
Quolls are solitary and like their own territory, so we've travelled further into the pound for the next release.
This is our little girl.
So this is Rocket.
This is Rocket.
She's going to go off like a rocket.
This is the little one I put the collar on.
It is, yeah. She should have a collar on.
She took off.
That was great.
Yeah, there's nothing better than letting an animal go in the wild.
Doing well. All right, let's go.
Yesterday, I helped the Bounceback team set 25 traps in and around Wilpena Pound in South Australia's Flinders Ranges. Catherine and her team released 41 quolls in the area a few months back. The idea today is to get a general feel of how they're going. We're on the clock though.
It's summer and temperatures can soar really early.
That means we have to be out at the crack of dawn to check the traps. We don't want any of the little quolls getting stressed.
The teams have spread out and are checking traps in the different areas that they've been set. We checked about 5 traps that were empty. Now we've come to one that's full with an adult quoll.
Hold it down.
9430 943 203 46687.
It's big. Oh, great.
You know him?
Yep.
Yeah? That's an adult male.
Releases, yep.
Original release?
Yep.
Isn't that fantastic? This quoll's name is Biggs and he's an adult male that was part of the original release. Now, because they know him, there's just some field data that's collected, like a weight, a general observation, obviously microchip to identify who he is, and he'll actually be released back into this area now. Inside, we've just noticed a scat, which is quoll dropping. And it's very interesting, and all the scats are collected because they can be analysed to see what the quolls are eating. This one's got a bit of fur, a little bit of bone. It's quite dense. What's the rest? There's likely just different types of meat. What are they normally
Yeah, they're
eating?
pretty broad diet, but we're getting a lot of rabbit fur, a lot of small mammals, and even bird feathers and
Yep.
bird eggs in there.
So rabbits are interesting because they're an introduced feral, so the quolls might actually help to control their numbers.
Yeah, hopefully, because we're controlling the cats and foxes that are their natural predators, then hopefully the quolls can take over.
Beauty. And you find, what, some reptiles, frogs?
Yep, reptile scales, lots of invertebrates. They seem to like centipedes and moths and things like that.
Okay, and you want that in the bag?
Yes, thank you.
Yep. Rather than hold Biggs all day, it's still early morning, we're going to let him go now. But different than releasing animals at night when you just let them go into the environment, they're aerial predators like eagles, so the safe bet is to put him down into this rabbit warren and he'll stay there throughout the day, come out at night and find his way home. All right. He's gone. All the way in too, that's great.
I've left Catherine to check the other traps and met up with Arthur Coulthard, who's a member of the Adnyamatna people, the traditional owners of the land round here. To them, these are proud times. The return of Inya, as they call the Western quoll, is like the return of a long-lost friend.
All the occasions that I've spent coming out here with the Inya release, every time it's always great. And the Adnyamatna community and Adnyamatna Yuras, the people themselves, really welcome Inya back to Yatta country.
And just like so much of the land and its inhabitants, the Inya appears in a Dreamtime story.
Inya story comes from the northern Flinders. There's the Inya and the Radna, the Goanna. Inya and the Radna were partners back in the Dreamtime, but the Adnyamatna elders wouldn't allow that because they were breaking the law. So Inya and the Radna ran away, but the hunting party tracked them up and speared Inya, and Inya fell to the ground. That's why it's got the spots on its back.
That's where it gets the spots.
That's where the spots come from. And Radna got hit with the boomerang. So every time you see its tail, the tail will go swishy, swishy, swishy.
Yep.
And the boomerang swish, swish, and swishy, swishy. And it's got marks down its side of its ribs. So.
This morning's trap check was successful. 4 quolls were found. You can't catch them all the time. Maybe the quolls are stuffed to the gills with all the rabbits they're devouring. The traps will be set again tonight. It's often the case that intrusions into a territory are treated with suspicion on the first night. However, just as I'm about to leave the Flinders, another one pops up.
Yeah.
Feel it.
Taddy. I can't be Taddy. Too heavy.
That's Damien.
Could be Chilpa.
Damien.
Could be York.
Damien.
Zeus.
Damien.
658270.
Gobble.
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 All right.
Yeah,
we
that's
haven't been
good.
here for a while.
That's good.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
That was good, Eloise, though. That was very exciting.
That's great.
And this one is giving reason for quite a bit of excitement.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
That's
she
good.
has
How
bred.
many? 6.
Hey.
6 young. That's great.
So there you go, another 6 baby quolls born into the wild here in the Flinders Ranges. This is an example of a wild reintroduction that's working. It's taken incredible effort from a conservation organisation named FAME, the South Australian Government and the people I've met here on the ground today.